afternoon, everyone. For those of you that I haven't met since you've been here, my name is Stephen Thomas. I'm one of the directors here at Thomas Vaughan. I'm going to give you a very brief history of the company. So, the company we started in 2008. It was Carolyn, my wife, and myself started the company. And then late 2019, Dan, our son, was in Cardiff University studying business and finance. Came home one day and said, "Mum, Dad, don't want to do this anymore. Can I come and work for you?" So we said, yeah, absolutely no problem. Dan's always had a passion for design. So Dan started with us early January 2020, been with us for about 2 weeks. Contracted a life-threatening and what would turn out to be a life-changing illness. And ultimately that would be the catalyst for us launching Thomas Vaughan Accessible. And there was a reason why we've chosen to launch it this week. You might or might not be aware, it is National Occupational Therapy Week this week. And in recognition of the fantastic work UOTs do in designing and speccing home adaptations, we thought it was appropriate that we launch in this week. But it isn't just OTs. You know, I think it's for every one of us who are involved in this sector. If we all get it right, we can make a huge difference. And the difference can change people's lives. And very much with that in mind, then we run regular CPT accredited training courses. And those training courses will cover all aspects of bathroom and kitchen design. And these courses are free. They're free to OTs, but they're also free to any of the professionals working in this sector. And today you're going to hear us talking about inclusive and empowering design. So what does inclusive empowering design mean? And for me, it's quite simple. You know, we are a successful bathroom and kitchen retailer. The majority of our customers are non-disabled. And if we're quoting somebody for a kitchen, they expect a certain level of service. They want to come in and they want to see the kitchen. They want to go touchy-feely with the kitchen. You know, they'll expect us to show them a range of different door designs, different colours, worktops, wall tiles, flooring, appliances that are going to suit their need. Then they're going to expect us to expertly design this kitchen for them using 3D CAD software. Is fairly common on the market now. And as a number of you would have seen, we also use virtual reality. And when we design in virtual reality, we make the room, we put the finished kitchen into the room. That person can then go into the room, they can interact with the kitchen, they can open the cupboard doors, they can open the drawers, they can turn on the tap. And that's the level of service that our customers expect. Now, if you're a disabled person and you want a new kitchen, should it be any different? Should that level of service, should that journey be any different if you're a disabled person? And no, it shouldn't. You know, that should be the norm. You should expect exactly the same service down to the VR. There should be no difference. And that's what we are looking to achieve here. You know, the other thing you're going to hear us talking about is that we have a goal, and our goal is to be a trusted resource and partner. And when we talk about being a trusted resource and partner, again, I think this is quite simple. I mentioned about the training, the free CPT training. It's there to support and help you. You've seen this accessible kitchen. This is a fully working accessible kitchen. It's a resource for you as OTs to use. It's free. You can bring your clients down. You can do an assessment here before you make recommendations. We talked about the VR. I'll give you an example of VR. So we are talking to a client at the moment about an accessible kitchen. It's a fairly major building project. The room doesn't exist yet, hasn't been built. They've only seen it on small architect's plans. So we created that room in VR. It's the first time they've seen their finished kitchen. They were able to, as I said, walk through the kitchen. Now, having seen the kitchen when it was in VR, it was obvious that there was a better way of doing it. And if we could move some doors and windows, we could achieve a much better layout. And we were able to do that because they hadn't started building. So we were able to speak to the architect and get those things changed. And that's the power of VR. It can make for a much, much better outcome. And the other thing I would say, you know, in terms of us being able to support you, we're at the end of the phone. Pick up the phone, give us a ring, drop us an email, you know. And this is what we mean when we are a trusted resource and partner. And this is what we would like to do with all of you guys, you know. For all of that to happen, then we're very lucky. We work with some pretty amazing people. I know Mark touched on some of these guys' qualities, but the first person I want to introduce you to is Sara Head. So Sara's an integral member of our team. She is a medal-winning Paralympian. She's also training to be an OT. She's an NHS volunteer. She's a carer for her mum. So Sara's world's a little different from ours because there's about 9 days in a week in Sara's world. It's the only way that she could fit everything in. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you Sara and let her say a few words.
I'm going to keep my notes today just to make sure I stay on target. So it's a real privilege to be here with you all today. I'm deeply proud to be invited to be an ambassador for Thomas Vaughan Accessible. When I was approached about this role, it was like a dream come true. Thomas Vaughan Accessible is fueled by a genuine passion for making accessibility and inclusion a reality for all. I've known this wonderful family for years. They've reached out to me not just as a friend, but as someone who lives with a disability for 30 years to share my thoughts and experiences. From the outset, I was excited beyond words. Throughout my years, I've never walked into a showroom and seen an accessible options and designs that truly work for me. I've never experienced a fully functioning, accessible kitchen. For me and for many others, kitchens have always been a real challenge. Medical professions often advise me to cook more from scratch, but that's always been simple advice that is impossible without the right kitchen and the safest environment, which is emotionally hard to accept. At times, disability isn't the worst thing we have to face. We can be made to feel more disabled by our environment. That's why this ambassadorship means so much. Thomas Vaughan ignited a spark inside me and helped me realise just how vital these accessible kitchens are, not only for wheelchair users, but for anyone living with a disability, or even as we become older. The chance to see and try what works before making choices is an incredible asset, not just for individuals, but for our community as a whole. Personally, I long for some sense of belonging and independence in the kitchen that many take for granted. I want to contribute to family life, take on roles and responsibilities, and not always rely on others. An accessible kitchen isn't just about who does the dishes. I mean, I don't mind missing that bit out. But it is about dignity, empowerment, and having the freedom to live life to the fullest. Initiatives like Thomas Vaughan Accessible give the chance to truly participate, making the kitchen space filled with love, connection, and creativity. A place where we have an identity, a role where we can be, do, and belong. I aspire to become an occupational therapist because while we can't change the world for everyone, we can absolutely make a world difference for one person and those around them. Sometimes that's where real change begins. Thank you, Thomas Vaughan Accessible, Adam, and everyone who has joined us here today for believing in this vision, for supporting accessibility, and for helping to create a world where everyone feels like they belong, are valued, and are at home. Thank you very much.
I'm getting real deja vu here because I've been a best man twice now, no, 3 times, and I always said after the first time I'd never go last because everyone else always says what I planned on saying. I'm coming at it from a slightly different perspective. I was a kitchen designer before my injury 44 years ago, and I was very lucky to have an employer similar to Thomas Vaughan near London who carried on employing me after my injury, and we worked together for 39 years. And then I set up as a consultant. My first big client was the biggest kitchen manufacturer in Britain, which is Symphony. They do on average 4,500 standard kitchens a week, and that's a week. It's phenomenal what they do, and they realised that they didn't have a product that was fit for purpose. It was sort of on par with their accessible range, in inverted commas, was on par with other manufacturers. It was fine for builders, builders. They never really questioned if it was any good. We always stuck to set sizes. We did kitchens that actually a wheelchair user and the majority of disabled people either found difficult or couldn't use. No thought, there was no understanding of the way disabled people worked or functioned. And they asked me to write a report on what I thought they needed to do. And the first thing was redesign the whole product, get it so it at least worked at a very minimum on the English building regs. But they had to do so much more. They had to take it out of building division, bring it into retail. We had to start merging it with standard ranges that they already had. But it wasn't just good enough to have a product, because you can have a fantastic product, but if you don't know how to understand design or understand our industry, it won't work. And so part of what I said is they had to find dedicated dealers who had a passion, who wanted to explore and join the Symphony family, that really had a passion and a will to improve disabled people's lives. The showroom had to be accessible, had to have accessible toilets, accessible parking, the staff had to be equality trained, and they had to have ongoing accessibility training. And every time a new piece of legislation came out, they had to be trained and understand what significance this had. Even to the extent that I want them to start working with parliaments, I want them to start working with local legislators, because that is the way, as a team, we're going to work together. And Symphony have got about 25 dealers around the country, and no one really who's doing this in the whole of Wales. And I have to say, I'm absolutely blown away by everything I've said or asked that we should do, we've done. We've moved kitchens from one area to another area because it means we can show X, Y, and Z. It must have cost you a small fortune.
Yeah, I'm still adding it up, yes.
So, and it's just brilliant. And I just wish you absolutely every success, and we'll support you in any way we can.
Thank you.
But it is truly superb, and please use this as one of the other things that I insisted on, that any dealer that signed up to become a Symphony Freedom dealer was that they had to allow OTs to come and use this as a resource and not be sold to. You can, as long as you ring and make an appointment, you can bring a client, try everything out, and just leave. Obviously they'll be around to answer questions and help. And I think that's so important with all the designers, the ones that have been OTs for a while. You'll know that we used to have independent living centres, and one by one they're all closing down. So there's nowhere to take people to go and try before you buy. So, well done.
Thank you, Adam. I just want to say a quick thank you to all of the Thomas Vaughan staff, or the team at Thomas Vaughan, who've made this possible. We've received no funding, there's no government grants for what we've done, and without the hard work and the effort of everyone working for us, it wouldn't have been possible. So I'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who worked with us. And now I would like to ask the Deputy Mayor if he could say a few words.
First of all, thank you everyone. Sara Adams, especially. Good afternoon everyone. My name is Cllr Aminur, and I'm the Deputy Mayor of Pontypridd Town Council for 2025 and 2026. I am delighted to be here today for the official opening of this amazing facility here in Tea Forest. And I would like to thank all of the staff at Thomas Vaughan for their hard work and commitment to this project. I'm delighted to launch the only fully working accessible living studio in Wales, and I'm sure that many of our local residents will find it of great benefit to themselves. I would like to congratulate everyone involved in making these facilities available, and I am very much looking forward to being shown around the studio. Thank you all, dear.
Okay, we only get one take. Excellent.
Hold it.
It's great. Let's go for it. Thank you, Stuart Lisa. That's brilliant. Yay.